And hi guys, I'm Shurleene from The Anderson Show, and I have a wonderful guest called Jigna with me, and she's a specialist in maths and science. And we're going to be talking about the stresses, sometimes traumas that young people go through, especially from the 11 to 18 range. That's who young people that Jigna works with when they're in school, and especially how does the parents then support children like that? What stresses are on some of these parents? When you know you're going through school and you're telling them, even from year 7, to read your books, come home, study, research, and they're on the phone, they're playing Roblox, and you're telling them, come off screen time, come off your phone, this, that, and the other, and they're not listening. So we're going to speak to Jigna about everything that she does with some of these young people, and maybe some tips and tools of, helping some of the parents of best how to cope and support young people through their studies. Well, hello, Jigna.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and you look lovely, may I say.
You look lovely yourself.
Oh, thank you. I love these compliments. Women should compliment each other more. How about that? So it was lovely meeting you and finding out that, you specialise in maths and science. For me, the two subjects that I don't think I'm great with, especially in school, and maybe because I find it a bit of a challenge, especially like science. It's like, sometimes you have to be, not a scientist, but interested in kind of science, but they're core subjects. So whether you're interested, good or not, these are things you have to do, subjects you have to take in school to pass. By the grace of God, go on to do something else, maybe with them or some, a different subject. But nonetheless, parents that, if you're my age, and I'm 21 by the way, parents that are a lot older, when we were growing up, we didn't have all these. Well, for me, I find it quite complicated when I'm like looking at my child's maths book or science book. I'm like, 1 times 2, no, do the bracket first, x bar, okay, that's algebra, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done, that's okay. Now, hey Google, which is not good, I know, don't do that, parents. But my point is that we need specialist teachers like yourself, and that will go out and do extra work and tutoring and stuff, because what do I do? And if not, it is literally going online and, I don't know, YouTubing it or doing something. And even then, if you don't understand, you don't understand. It's understanding how to break down formulas, isn't it? And how to understand 2 and 2 is 4. It will never be 5. It will never be 3. It will never be 10. But then, and for you, it's maybe easy. And for those that are academic, it's easy. But for some people, it's just not easy. But it's something that we need in life. We need maths. Every day it's figures, it's money, it's understanding that. So we understand that it's important that your child understands even basic maths, They might not need to use algebra or trigonometry and all these other, maths subjects, but even basic maths. I'm seeing a lot of kids where I'm working with and teaching on children, like, I miss what's like 903. I'm like, you kidding me? And some of them are so lazy, they don't even go on a calculator, then on your phone. They're just, everything, they just want it like this.
Want it in an instant.
Absolutely. So where you come in now is amazing, that you've got the skills and you've got the experience and you're the professional to say, look, I'm going to teach you how to do it, and how to do that mental maths, that understanding science, and obviously by the grace of God take the pressure off some of the parents that also will feel the stress. So I've done enough talking, over to you. So tell me, what was your love for maybe maths and science for you to go and do this as a profession?
So originally, my maths, I wasn't so good at school. I got a GCSE in maths, and it took a peer to sort of say to me, well, why are you not doing A-level maths? You're doing A-level sciences. And from a younger age, I always thought I'm not so good at maths. Yeah. It took for me to get onto my A-level pure maths, and for me to click with algebra, to actually understand that actually it's not as bad as it is. But it took me a long while, because for a long while when I was doing my GCSEs, as a younger pupil, I used to think maths was magic. And I didn't actually understand the logistics until I started my actual A-level course, and the teacher actually showed me, and I actually understood how the pieces fell into place. So whenever I'm teaching pupils, I actually always show them the basics of how to actually approach for example, an algebra question, why this happens, the numbers don't just disappear. There's reasons behind, and there's logistics behind every question. Same goes for the science. There is reasons why science questions or science knowledge has happened. So I always teach the fundamentals, the foundation bricks, to make the understanding more adaptable for the students.
Right. So you said you always thought maths was magic.
When I was younger.
That. Yeah, what was magic about it?
So when I was younger, when I was doing my GCSEs, when we were doing, for example, algebra, no one actually taught me why things move across or why numbers come on top of the numerator, etc. No one taught, they just expected me just to know it. And
so if we can just go back, so when you say things move across or the numbers like numerator, just explain a little bit what that is, just so if someone's watching like me. I'll be googling that, by the way. So
for example, if you're doing an algebra question, so you've got, for example, 2x equals 1.
Okay. Yeah.
And then suddenly it became x equals half, and I'd be like, well, how's that happen?
How did that get?
And at the point in time, my GCSEs, I sort of accepted it as such, because I was like, okay, I'm just listening to teacher, and I was just, how do I say it? Like a parrot, just regurgitating what the teacher would say to me. And it took me to get to A level to actually understand the reasoning why. So this is a very simplified question, obviously, but the reason why is obviously you divide the equation both sides by 2 to then get the x equals half.
Right.
But it took me a long while to actually understand the logistics behind it, because no one actually taught me the framework behind it as such.
So maybe when some of these young people are working on like their maths equation and stuff, as you're saying, it's understanding the basic. It's how do I get to this answer? But maybe some of them is not understanding that. Hence, they're stressing and stuff like that, and of course it causing their parents a lot of stress as well when
Definitely.
they can't figure it out either.
And that's what I see a lot when I teach my students. A lot of them come to me and sort of say, I just don't get algebra, or I don't get chemistry equations. Yeah. And they think it all happens by magic, and I actually pull it apart and take them back to basics and say to them, there's reasoning why. For example, if we're reacting magnesium with chlorine, there's reasons why we have magnesium salt as MgCl2, for example. So, it's magnesium with hydrochloric acid. And then they're like, oh, okay, I get why now, miss. But initially they don't understand why. But I explained to them with the balanced equation why we end up with a situation we do. And that's how we balance our equations.
So do you think, like, to understand maths and science, you have to have a love for it or passion for it? Or do you think even if you're struggling with even the basic maths, you can learn it and understand it?
For me, I think a lot of it comes down to preparation, planning, and practice. Not everyone is going to have a love for science. Even the top scientists aren't going to say that they love science. Yeah. However, they've practiced it, they've prepared, they've tried to gain an understanding of the answers and then applied it. And that goes to the same throughout school and education. Not everyone's going to have this love for science, but if you put those things into action, it gives you a lot more kind of the groundwork's done for you.
Right. So what I'm kind of hearing is that even if you're not great at maths and science, as long as you sort of like do some research, you practice, and I guess there might be tools and stuff online that some parents can get, just to maybe help the child and maybe even help themselves, if they're going through it with their son or daughter, that they can just get the fundamental sort of like basic, instructions, even if it's the basic equation. But what about for those kids that really, really struggle though? Would you say it's more of a learning difficulty, or maybe it's the way they've been taught? How would you kind of like the parents that are really struggling and kind of like stressing?
So for parents that are really struggling with, or the children that are really struggling and stressing with it, I would always say get various resources that supplement the child's studies, that match the exam board. And various resources that are common revision guides that are very popular will actually have like a revision checklist on the front, or a kind of topic checklist, and break those down into smaller topics. There's a wealth of knowledge on YouTube. There's various videos that are fantastic that I often say to my students, watch these videos. They are brilliant. They will help you understand better as well. So there is loads of resources available. However, make sure that you don't have too many as well. Yeah. So try and keep it to a revision guide, a workbook, the exam material. I would always say practice exam questions. Look at the mark scheme, because to be honest, the mark schemes are very similar with each exam paper, and you can pick up tips of what not to write and what to write and how to obtain those marks. I will always say, when we're heading for exams, make sure you've practiced every exam question available to you, and they are freely available on the exam boards.
Right. And where would you find some of these marks books and schemes, like W.H. Smith's and stuff like that?
W.H. Smith, Amazon. You can even get them online, quite a few resources. Okay. A lot of companies will give you free resources that you can literally use. Okay. So they don't. Some resources won't even cost.
Right. So maybe parents that are more struggling and maybe can't afford, a private tutor, there's still things available for them, especially online. So you heard that, guys. So sometimes I get it with parents that are working, it's also time. Sometimes you come home, you think I have to cook, put the kids to bed and whatever, but we also have to take out time for our child, especially the stresses as well. So maybe we can talk a bit about that, like some of the stresses that some young people go through when it's exam times, because then some of these young people, it's depression, stress, can lead to sort of like different chronic illnesses as well, and we're not relating it that it's the anxiety and the fear of failing or not understanding can lead to that. Any tips and tools for sort of like parents and young people?
So a lot of pupils will stress, and it is very hard for them. One of the reasons it's very hard for them is they have this kind of, in the best way to look at it, a glorified view of what grades they should get. Social media is not realistic. When you go to school open days, they're also not realistic about what they're advertising. So they will show the best student, because they're on an open day, they're trying to sell the school, or the social media post is trying to sell. So they're not going to show what the rest of the country has. So when you see 9 grade A's, great, some people will get that. It does happen. However, there's also the people that won't get that, and there's also pupils that will have tried the best they can, and they may have got a lower score, but they've still done the best they can. Now, what you need to remember is that you have to just try your best. The examiners are there to actually try and award you the most marks they can. Because as an examiner, when I'm marking paper, believe it or not, we're
not trying to mark you down.
No. So when we mark papers, we're actually trying to see where we can give you the most marks, and we actually get, if we actually get kind of, how do I say it the best way? We actually get checked in on. So we are actually kind of checked in on to make sure we are giving you the most marks we can for questions as well. So we don't actually know whose paper we're marking, because obviously for conflict of interest, we can't mark, a student's paper. However, we see it as, just a question, and we always try and give you the most marks we can.
Is this when they say to you, always show you're working out?
Yes,
so even
definitely.
if they may get the answer maybe not right, or a little 1 mark off, you can go by, we can see where they were going, they're almost right. But
yes, so definitely, I always say that when you're doing a maths question, always make sure that you are showing all you're working out, because we don't, most of the time, we don't penalise you more than once. So if you've gone wrong, okay, fine. But if you've gone wrong and then use that answer to then do the method we're expecting you to do, you've probably got at least 50% of the marks. Okay, you will lose some for maybe the final answer. You may lose some for one part of it, but you won't lose everything. So I always say to all my students, make sure you show all you're working out.
Okay. So parents can sort of like give that advice to sort of like ease, I guess, stress and tension when young people are facing, and it doesn't have to be like, it could be even like the primary school kids when they're doing their SATs and they do like little mock exam even up until the SATs, and then you get into year 7 and year 8, like my daughter's year 8 now, and she's like, oh, Mum, I've got another test. So every minute they're testing you, but I guess they're getting you ready also for the GCSE, because, you know, making you feel like comfortable and this is how it's going to be. But at the same time, she'll come home and go, oh my God, Mum, I didn't revise, and then now I'm going, and then I feel stress. But as you said, revise.
I would say the best thing you can do is, from my background, is make sure that you have, even early on, try and make a revision plan.
Okay, so what does that look like?
So revision plan, see what time you have available in the week. Be realistic. So if you have got other commitments, don't include those. So think about how many hours and be realistic. No one can revise for 6 hours a night. Yeah. You need a break. Your brain will not thank you, and it won't connect the dots, as basic as it is. If you are spending 6 hours in, revising, okay, you need the break to actually start connecting the dots together.
Makes sense.
So make sure you have your breaks. Reward yourself. You've done an hour revision or 45 minutes or whatever works for you. People work differently, so 20-minute blips, 40-minute blips, whatever works for you. Then have your break, watch your favourite TV programme, go and have a walk, get some fresh air. Make sure you put in those breaks. And also, while you're doing that, if you have access to exam-style questions, do them while you're doing your revision, so work smarter. So as you're doing a topic, put in an exam-style question.
Okay.
I would always say if you know there's an exam on the horizon, always work with your worst topics. Everyone has worst topics. Work with your worst topics earlier on, so that when it does start becoming exam season, and you will feel pressure, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. When exams do happen, everyone feels a bit under pressure. However, if you've done your worst topics first, the pressure will slightly feel less than if you did your worst topics last, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah.
Yeah, and always make sure that you are eating well, sleeping well. Your body's not going to thank you if you're sitting there eating just junk food all day. So think about athletes, for example. How do they train? It's the same sort of thing. They train throughout the year.
That's very true, and it's very important actually you kind of stumbled on health, because if you're having sugary foods and fizzy drinks and stuff, it's going to make you lethargic, it's going to make you tired, as that kind of tired feeling where you're feeling lethargic anyway, but it's like, I want to sleep, because it's too much sugar. Then you have a spike in sugar and you want to sleep, and it's not going to make you concentrate or focus, and then I guess you feel more burnt out as well. But I guess if you put in some vegetables, some apples, whatever the kids are eating these days, because to be fair, most kids are chicken chips. They have the chicken chip. Yeah, I see you guys. Yeah, you too. I see you at the chicken chip shop getting wings and chips for like £2. That is rubbish. But at the same time, the parents have to kind of rein in on that as well, and saying, right, we're having cucumber sticks and carrots tonight for dinner. No, it's not for dinner. They have to have it for dinner. But you can, I'm only joking. But the point I'm making is, and what Jigna said, is just remember, health is your wealth. So when you are studying and you need to concentrate more, enough sleep, enough water, and good food. And then you can treat yourself now and again to a chocolate bar or two, like I do. But that's, yeah. I'm a big kid at heart, to be fair. But I just love that because to be fair, I forget about the health part in it, because it's always like study more hours. As you said, 6 hours is ridiculous, but you do hear it and find it in some household, especially some cultured household. They think you've got to be lawyer, doctor, accountant, engineer, and they need to study for the whole of your life. But a lot of the children get burnt out, and with that, it leads to depression and stress and worries, especially the worries for the parents. So some tips for the parents. What can the parents do to manage it? If they see that their child is a bit anxious and worrying, what can they do?
So as a parent myself, I also had children that were very anxious. I think it's about managing their expectation as well, and always giving them sort of that just try your best, that at the end of the day that's all that matters. they will have difficult times. It is a hard year. Examination years are always hard years. So, check in on them, make sure that they understand what they need to do. If they need extra resources, make sure that they have the extra resources that are needed. Make sure that, they've got somewhere they can study, and that's quiet. And also just help them to, remember to study sort of smarter. So, flashcards are great, notes are beautiful, but can they actually answer the question?
Right.
That is a key thing. Can you answer the question? Notes, some children tend to make beautiful notes, but I would say, can you answer the question? And that's where, things can, show up. So I would say, answer the question, see if you can do that, and that will always help. One thing I would say is, if you are looking for support for your child in terms of tuition, I would not recommend getting a tutor a week before the exam. A lot of parents think that tutors can almost wave a magic wand.
Do a miracle overnight.
I had quite a few last year come to me, and with my background I could sort of understand why. However, I think it actually made it more difficult for the child, because a week before the exam is not the best time to get a tutor. If you do want to source help, it would be better earlier on in the year, because the client and the tutor start building up a relationship, and they start getting to know the student. So my advice is, if you are looking to get that help, do it earlier rather than later.
That makes sense, and that's good advice as well. As you said, like, oh my God, panicking, the child's panicking a night before, let's get a tutor in tonight. Because she's going to wave a wand and it's going to be a magic show, as you said. But it's not like that. Oh, that's amazing. And and I just thank you for all the tips and stuff, especially like with the health and the revision, and obviously, as you said, but once you built that relationship between the tutor and that child, it's like there's trust. Then you're building trust as well, and then hopefully that child will also open up. Especially if they're struggling. Because it could be like a mental block for some of these kids, and you realise they might even have, learning difficulties as well. And I guess as a professional, you probably come across that. Like, I think there's something more going on. But again, every child can learn. Everyone, even adults, we all can learn. It's not just about, this is not for me. If you want to try it, try it. I just want to thank you. I think this has been amazing. Thank you for all the tips and tools. And can I ask for your information to leave down in the description below, that if there's any parents out there, even young people, and you want some a really good, amazing tutor, maths and science, that you can come and see when you're available to do some work.
Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being on the Anderson Show. So I'm Shurleene. This is my lovely guest, Jigna, and until we meet soon, take care. Bye.